Okay, I want you to picture for yourself 5 years from now. We'll all be a little older, maybe a little wiser. A lot has changed, but not everything. A vaccine has finally been found for COVID-19, and despite a significant number of anti-vaxxers, the vast majority of the world is now vaccinated. It was the longest coordinated humanitarian effort this planet has ever seen. And despite all the hardships that we have undergone, we made it through. We have a lot to be grateful for. And we still have much to learn from that time 5 years ago, when so many things we took for granted were turned on their heads. Today, in our scripture passage, the ancient Israelites have finally arrived at their destination, this land of milk and honey. No more wandering the desert, sleeping out in makeshift tents, searching for food and water, squabbling about the right course to take, and of course, complaining to God via Moses that their lives were unbearable. As the story goes, the Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years till they finally came to this land of milk and honey. Now, it's important to note that we are not talking about regular calendar time here. For the number 40 in Jewish storytelling represents the time it takes to change, to be renewed, to break a bad habit, to make a fresh start. So right away we start to question, what is the real purpose of this founding story of the Israelites? So Moses gathers the people around him and offers final words of wisdom before the people enter this new land full of hope and promise. Your life will become easier, he tells them. But Moses warns, when you have eaten your fill and have built your fine homes, and your herds and your flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold has multiplied, and all that you have has multiplied, then do not exalt yourself, forgetting the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, who brought you out of the house of slavery. How easy it is to complain when life is hard, especially when the future is uncertain. When weeks of uncertainty stretch into months, and when our movements become restricted once again, when the regulation changes so often and we're just plain fed up. We know that COVID fatigue has set in. And yet in 5 years from now, how will we look back on these times? What will we have learned once our lives have become a little easier and our finances have reestablished themselves? The Bible story in the book of Exodus is a cautionary tale about forgetting our interconnectedness to all of creation and to our Creator. the minute our lives become a little easier, and the moment we start focusing on personal prosperity with disregard for the welfare of others. For a while this spring, it seemed as if most of the industrial world had stopped, and our skies became clear, and our air and our waterways were renewed, and we could no longer ignore the evidence of how far off kilter our industrial practices have become in relationship to our natural world. Is there a lesson here for us? And now, as our healthcare system struggles to keep us alive, and workers show up valiantly every day, we have witnessed the consequences of cost-cutting measures that have gone on for many, many years, with the resulting fragility of our healthcare system in general, and our retirement homes and long-term care facilities specifically. These are places where seniors have moved to because it was supposed to be safer than staying in one's home. Is there a lesson here for us? In 5 years from now, will we remember the thousands of healthcare workers who risked their lives to save the lives of our loved ones? In 5 years from now, once we have arrived at our land of milk and honey, will we treasure these times as we look back? As times when we finally learned our lessons, made a change, broke our bad habits, made a fresh start, started caring for one another and our world as we were born to do? Today I leave the last word to our caregivers in a series of interviews conducted in the last few days. What motivates you to go to work each day?
I am absolutely passionate about what we do in community respiratory work, and always have been. Pre-pandemic, it's always been something that I am absolutely passionate about, and now more than ever, it's important for us to be there doing what we do. So very many of our clients are housebound. They're unable to get out to their physician's offices or clinics or have their follow-up appointments. And so we're still going into homes and providing care to people who are otherwise finding care hard to access. And so I'm motivated because I think the service that we're providing is essential work, and that brings a feeling of great satisfaction.
I think one of the main things that I was thinking about is obviously it comes down to the residents. There's the altruistic side of, what it means to be a healthcare worker and what it means to take care of people. And, we have definitely a huge uh, heart, and we need to go to work because we need to care for people, and we need to, and it fills us up every day to be part of that. And this pandemic has really brought out the feeling of, I mean, there is definitely a maternalistic feeling towards, not only caring for uh ourselves and the people that we work with, but also making sure that our patients and our residents, are safe. And that's just, and it's really scary when you think that you could be the one that might bring something to them. So there's that feeling of like, I definitely have to keep myself safe in order to keep everybody else safe. And so there's that, all of that. And then there's also the other part where because of the pandemic, our personal lives have been turned upside down, and I mean, I have to go to work. So there's the bed and breakfast that is not working at this time, and we just don't have any clients. We were full for the month of October, and now everyone has had to cancel. Um, so there's just the reality of needing to work as well. But I think that no matter what, you can't um, ultimately you can't be doing healthcare work for the money. It has to be because you want to take care of people, and I think that's ultimately what brings us all to work every day.
I never know what my day is going to be like. No 2 days are ever the same, and it's been that way always. And it's always, I love going into work.
What is your current state of mind?
Definitely, I'm calm now, but I went through the 5 stages of grief, for sure. The At first it was the fear, denial. Oh my goodness, I got to stay, in my little, how do I leave my office? How do I go out there and make sure that I don't bring something to somebody, or that I'm not the one who's bringing this sickness to my patients or to my residents. And so it was, the constant hand washing, and what do I need to do next, and watching, and everyone's, we're all reading the updates, and to make sure that we know the latest information. And we do, I don't think I've ever been so glued to the news as I have been recently, and making sure that I'm as informed as everybody else about what is the latest of what I'm supposed to be doing. And so as we go on, that has been, I think that fear keeps coming back, and making sure that I know where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing. And then there has been anger. I mean, there has been that moment when you go, well, I mean, is everything, is there something, is everything going to break down around me? And if really, that feeling of I can't believe that my freedom can be taken away from me like this. And that whole, like it's shocking. Really, that part is shocking. And then you go to the whole part of there's that okay, I'm gonna trade it off, and I'm gonna have, like, if I don't wash my hands 50 times a day, am I still gonna be safe? Am I still gonna keep everybody safe? Maybe if I only do it 20 times a day, maybe that's enough. So that's that whole bargaining and all of that kind of thing. And then you go into depression, where you're like, oh geez, it doesn't matter what I do. Am I going to be able to keep everybody safe anyways? So you go through all of that, and then now I'm in that calm. Right now I feel the calm of acceptance of, well, okay, these are the next rules. I can accept that. These are, I mean, you certainly cycle back through, just like any kind of grief, because I think we're all, going through the moments of grief. And but I think that right now I have to say that there comes a point where you actually do say, well, this is it. This is what we live, and this is what we're going through. And I feel, you feel some sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but normalcy to the abnormal situation that we're living. And so I guess we're feeling more productive too, because of that, because you have less fear, you can be more productive. There's certainly a lot more work at the hospital currently right now, because of the fact that there's so much going on. And even though we haven't had as many cases in our area, that doesn't mean that it hasn't had effects elsewhere, and that it doesn't touch every other aspect. So we're we're dealing with just the whole, a lot of food insecurities and all of that sort of thing, because as a dietitian, that's also part of what we do. So that's I think there's all of that going on?
Doing fine. It's always, whenever we get a new procedure, it's just a matter of adapting to the new way of doing things. But this was the same when I started working, and we had an isolation ward for Clostridium difficile, which is chronic diarrhea, or when we opened up SARM units. For me, it's just you adapt and you move and you work. That's all there is to it.
Currently, I feel calm and relaxed about everything. And I can say that because the springtime brought a lot of new challenges. Direction was changing daily in terms of corporate direction, direction from the ministry, availability of PPE. Now, though we are in the middle of the second wave, there's a sense of calm because we've lived through the first wave and we handled it well. And now we're going into the second wave with wave one already under our belt. And so now it's more of a known entity. And so now it's just a sense of calm, and we know there could be changes in direction, but we're up for it. We have lots of PPE. We know what we're doing, and that brings a sense of calm to all of us.
I take this opportunity to thank these healthcare workers for giving us an insight into their work and their perspective. They had more to say during our interviews, and we will be hearing that in future weeks. Let us hope that their devotion to our health today will rub off on all of us, such that in 5 years from now, we all will have become better at taking care of one another and our world.